Hello, I'm Ed, and I'm a friend of a young guy up in Canada named Koji, and I've been friends for the past 15 years or so. And the other day we were for a visit up there, and I had made him a spoon. Now, I designed the spoon from a photo his father had sent him. Koji and I were talking, and I decided I need to make Koji's dad a spoon as well. He'd sent a photo of a spoon that he'd seen somewhere. I sketched it out and in pencil, and then I took it into a program called Adobe Illustrator and made the lines a bit smoother. So hopefully I'll carve this spoon in the next few minutes. Alright, so the tools that I'm going to use are primarily this gouge here, which is a gouge that I've had for over a year or so now. I really like this one, and had to reshape it a couple times and bring this bevel here back a little bit further. I will probably use some of these other ones. I've got a fishtail and a little straight gouge, and I've got a bent gouge here for digging in, and a couple of other gouges and stuff. The spoon I'd made for Koji was made out of a piece of ash. What I have here is a piece of sycamore. Sycamore is a tree native to New England here, and I'm going to try to cut it out of here. So the first thing I need to do is cut out the pattern. I'll apply the pattern on here and cut this board more closely to the size that we need. Okay, so this is the pattern. Somewhere I've got a knife here. I'm going to take this and cut this spoon out of here like this, and we'll get this just kind of close right now. And we'll stick this on the side here and see how much wood we can salvage. Now see if I cut this down the middle here, I'll be able to get 2 spoons out of this. So I'll grab some spray glue here. This is a necessary item for the woodworker who does things digitally, I suppose. And spray a little bit of that on there like that. Okay. It doesn't take a whole lot. And we'll take this and stick this down on this side like that. And there we go. So now, take my knife, trim these up a bit here. Key to life is a sharp knife. Okay. And I can take all this other paper and chuck it in the waste bin. Need a pencil, and I need to find my center point here. There we go. Look at that. I'll get 2 spoons out of this piece of sycamore. Okay, so I can take that and cut that down the middle. What I'll cut that with is I have what's called a turning saw here. I don't know if you can see this or not. I guess you can. This is a saw that I made. Made this, I don't know, maybe a month ago now or so. And just a blade. I bought the blade and turned the knobs here. If you can see that, and I don't know if you can see the, I don't know what the light's like here. Turn the knobs on the lathe. Cut this out of smoke. This is a piece of maple out of the firewood. And what I'll do is I'll take this and cut this down the middle. But I need to stick that device. Probably have to readjust the camera. So I'll take my turning saw. Now, this is going to be a long and boring process to get through this whole thing here. Actually, I think what I'll try to do is follow the shape of the spoon. That'll save some cutting later on. So, you can see here, I'm starting to follow the shape along. Okay, I'm beyond the end there now. Bring my turning saw back out of there. If I can get it out of there. Okay. Like that. And I'll take this, like this now, and take a little dovetail saw here that I found at a flea market for $2. And it was dull. I'm guessing that it was made about 1780 by what I've been able to find out in research. I had to reshape it and put some new teeth on it and stuff. Made by a guy by the name of Anthony Hill in England. Oops. There we go. And we have a spoon profile chopped out of there now. I'll put a piece of sandpaper on there. Like that. Grab maybe, what do we got, 100 grit here? A piece like this. Get rid of some of those saw marks. Curious to see how this Sycamore carves. I've only used it once before, and that was a year or so ago, and I don't remember. Sycamore is a native tree. You can always, that's a little rough there, saw marks. You can always spot sycamore. The sides of the tree look like camouflage. They grow all along the streets. They're very decorative along the roadsides here. Okay, let me hang my saw back up. There we go. And take my pattern. Where can we see? Here we go. Take my pattern. So my pattern, I never even checked to see if this wood was wide enough. I'm hoping that it is. Oh, extra wide, no problems there at all. So I'll take my pattern and line it up and glue it on there. Then I can start cutting out the bowl here. So what do I do with my glue? There it is. Take my glue over here over the trash barrel. Spray a little bit of glue on there. I like to get the end with the bowl glued pretty heavily because that gets pretty thin at times. There we go. Got some glue on there. Grab it like that. Make sure it's lined up with the other pattern. Oops, stuck to my fingers. And glue it down on top of there like that. All right, now this is not the vise I normally use. I've got good light here. So take my knife now. Let me see if I can I readjust this camera so you can actually see better what I'm doing here. Let's see here. Well, that's pretty good. Okay. So bring my knife cut in like this. What I'm doing, just getting rid of a lot of paper so I don't have to cut through all that paper with the chisels, gouges. Oops, messed it up already. Alright, dig that center part out. Get rid of the sticky bits. Throw it in there. Alright, now, my mallet. Where's my mallet? Stick my glue back up there. This is my mallet. This is a mallet that I made from a piece of scrap wood from a friend of mine's porch. Now, this vise isn't going to work. I need the other vise. We'll set this up in the other vise. Okay, we're set up in the other vise now. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to start knocking some of this wood out of here. Take these out. And this end of the spoon is the deeper part. I always have a fear of going too deep and cutting through the backside. I've probably made 50 or 60 spoons now and haven't done it yet. So. This is just the basic preliminaries. get the big part out. Okay, so what we got here, still got a ways to go. We'll start digging out some of this sycamore. And if you figured out already, I sweat a lot, and I'll be dripping on the spoon as we go along here. Okay, so get that back edge. Come this way. Come around the edge. There we go. Okay. So we start cutting this out of here. I'm going to go up here. Bring this in from this side over here. When you're carving, the spoon has the wood has a grain to it, where it's always best if you're carving downhill. So what happens is all the downhill all meets in the center. So that's always a spot of contention there in the center when you get into the center. So I think this wood was the right choice. Kind of difficult to carve, but boy, is it pretty in there. Should make a pretty spoon. Now when I get done with the spoon, I'll send this up to Koji, and he'll send it on to his father, or I'll get his father's address and send it to him directly. That's coming out there pretty good. Alright, so I'll turn this around a bit now. Get in from the other side. One of these days I'll get myself a proper vise and a proper bench, but for the time being this one works. My father was a wood carver, and he taught me a lot of things. But most of this I've learned on my own. My dad passed away a number of years ago. Yesterday, August 22nd, would have been his 100th birthday. I miss the old guy every day. I'm probably blocking the view. Let me see if I can move this camera a bit more. I hope that's a better view. I didn't mean to be blocking the view when I'm carving. So I almost have a bowl in here now. Okay, so I'm coming in, going downhill. On this side, going downhill. I'm going across the grain now, which isn't the best. It doesn't get the smoothest cuts. If it gets wood, I will smooth it out. So I've got this side almost done. Now I have to come down the other side and meet that other side. Okay, and it's best if we come in from this direction. Go that way with the grain. And then come back this direction and smooth it out this way. So I think I need probably a bit smaller gouge. This is a number 7 gouge. I like the number 7s, number 8s. They have a good sweep to them. They get a lot of wood out. I think this is about a number 7. This is what's called a spoon gouge. And this one, it allows you to turn it this way, and I can work along the grain. Let's get that bottom a little smoother. Someday I would love to be able to cut a spoon out and not use any sandpaper at all, just have the final tool marks in there and have it smooth. My problem is I cannot get rid of my tool marks so it's smooth enough. But I'm sure that that'll come with time. Who knows? Maybe this will be the first. I don't think so. Okay, I've rearranged the camera. The camera is now sitting on my mallet on the bench, so it may be a little bit shaky as I go along here. It may even fall over and we might have to readjust again, but maybe you can see what I'm doing here. I apologize for getting my arm in the way. Okay, let's try this little fish out. This is number 4 fishtail gouge. Try to smooth that out a bit. I can see this is not working. That my camera's bouncing all over the place. And we need to find another place for the camera. Okay. Reposition the camera again. And I am trying to get this spoon worked out without a lot of tool marks in it. At least with the sanding's easier. Feels pretty good. Hope Mr. Masutani likes his spoon. It's certainly a strange hobby to have, making spoons. There's a lot of people who make a lot of things in life that are much more practical. And I know you can go down to the store and buy these things for $3 for $5. But I like putting myself into the product. I like taking the energy out of me and putting it into a piece of wood or something. And alright, I am going to, I think I've got that to the shape I want. Certainly not as smooth as I'd like. I'm going to get some sandpaper here. What do we got here? 220. Here's something a little bit rougher. We'll start with a 100. I'm pretty sloppy with my sandpaper. I just kind of tear it into pieces. And let's see what I can do here. While it's in the, I found that while I leave it in the vise, it's a heck of a lot easier to sand because the table holds it still for me. I damaged a finger the other day, so see what we can do to smooth this bowl out a bit. Get rid of my mistakes. Sandpaper is very good at getting rid of your mistakes. See what we can do to give Mr. Masutani a nice, smooth spoon. Okay, so there's that. Go back over to some 220. Yes, that's looking much better now. I'm glad I did that. That looks pretty good. Okay. I think I have here somewhere too. Some of this. This is a real fine 320. And that'll let us know where the flaws are. Ultimately, I'll go to a 600 and then a 1000 grit, and then a 2000 grit probably, and polish it up pretty good before we put our oil on there. That feels pretty good. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do though, I am going to take this now and redraw these edges here. I'll just pull that off around there. Get my pencil. And I'm going to redraw these edges. And I have to have pretty well defined edges, because I'm going to cut this out with my saw. And we want to have enough of a lip there that I can actually work with when I do the final shaping. Okay, that should do that. The rest of this I can see pretty well. Get my saw blade back straight here. Tough to do this with the camera there. Maybe what I can do, I can set the camera over here a little bit further. There we go. Oh. What I'm doing now, cutting out the other section of the spoon. I'm cutting too close to my line. I need to bring it back a bit. I got the spoon roughly sawn out, and now I'm going to put it back in this vise here and take my gouges and start shaping it. I've taken off most of the wood with a saw. I got a nice flat chisel here, carving chisel, and I start taking off most of the bulk off the spoon here, just by knocking off the corners and big bits that need to be knocked off here. Shape this back a little bit here. Bring this back down. Don't want to hit that vise. The vise is made out of iron. That would just about destroy my chisels. I'll take this here like this. Proper carver's bench here, but yeah, make do with what you got. That's the way life is. Okay, that brings that down there pretty good. Like that. I almost have a spoon shape now. Yeah, can't go too much thinner there. Maybe you can see what I'm doing here a little bit better. Not that what I'm doing is all that exciting right now. Just getting the basic shape of the spoon in here. Alright, once I get the basic shape like this is pretty much a spoon shaped now. Put a little lump right there. I'm going to take that lump out. Alright, that feels pretty good. Go over here a bit more. Bring this down a bit more over here. You know, one of the things my father taught me, go back to the theme of fathers for a moment. And I know that all fathers pass along knowledge to their sons. And my dad talked about woodworking quite a lot. I'm a artist, I guess, by trade, a designer anyway. And he said, see with your fingers not your eyes. See with my fingers, not my eyes. And that'll tell you about the symmetry of the thing. And I can tell that symmetry here. Carl's walking right outside talking. I'm going to turn this off for a minute. Maybe she's going in. Okay. So let's see here. That feels fairly symmetrical. Get a bit of a lump right there. Alright, now to smooth out all these chisel marks, although I kind of like the way that's come out like that, I'm going to use a spoke shave. And this is one I picked up. And that basically does the same thing the chisel does, although to me it's just a little bit smoother. It's got little thin shavings of wood, allows me to work in a nice even pace. And the whole key to all this, of course, is keeping everything sharp. Seems like I spend about half my life sharpening things. That's nice and thin in there now. Okay. If I can turn this around again, remember you got to work downhill. I'm going to take this like this. Can you still see that? I guess you can. Okay. And we'll work downhill this way. And the hardest thing in making a spoon is holding it. That all feels very nice. Not too bad. I rather like this Sycamore. I'll get some more of this. Let's see what I can find a native source for this here. This car is very nice. Okay, so starting to get a spoon shape there. It's going to be a nice light spoon. This is very nice, working out pretty good. Alright, so I need to shape this part, and so this is my spoon vise. I've got a rope here, and you can see down here's a foot pedal. I put my foot on that pedal, and that holds things down tight. So now I can put my spoon in here and clamp it down nice and tight, and work on it with my gouges. Oop, I should have brought them over here first. Okay, and start to shape things. Again, working downhill, high to low, going down across the grain. This shears the grain, because you don't want to lift up the edges of the grain. That just doesn't work well when you do that. And I'll come back from the other way, from the bowl, to shape that. I think I get that little fishtail here. Oops, my foot's tangled up in there. Let me get my gouges. There's my fishtail. That gouge, there's that gouge, and my flat chisel. Okay, let me pull this out of here. Oops, didn't mean to wipe the camera. Okay, go up from here like this. Meet that up there like that. Oh, there we go. Okay. I know there's a lot of different ways of carving spoons. A lot of people out there use just jackknives and stuff. And I like to use my gouges, my chisels, and my spoke shaves. And, oh, I see I took a little bit too big of a bite there. Yeah, and we'll adjust. Turn over this side. Symmetry is everything. Okay. This is a handmade carving knife made by a friend about 30 years ago. I haven't seen it in 30 years, but it's nice and sharp. Yeah, it does a good job of having a nice long point that gets into areas. The other little one's just a $3 knife I got off the internet for marking my wood when I'm making actual woodworking projects. Not spoons, but it's always keep it nice and sharp, so it works well. This is an actual carving knife. Beautiful handle on that one. Okay. Looks like we got it fairly symmetrical. Not too happy with my knob up here yet. That'll come with time. Just keep getting it rounder and rounder. Knife seems to be the right tool for that. Ugh. Like the duck, just take away the parts that aren't round. Sure did have a good visit with the Koji when we were up in Waterloo. The kids really had a good time. We took the grandkids up and had a visit and went off to the zoo and had a great time. It was just a really good visit. It was good. I haven't seen Koji in a number of years, and good catching up with him. He's like another son. I got 2 or 3 of my students that are in that category from my days at Brown University. Nice to be able to stay in contact. I got my friend Rob lives in the area here. I still see him at least once a month. Get together. My friend Brian Lee and of course Edricks, who I worked with. He was another lab manager. Koji's once like a son. Koji and Rob. Those are my 2 sons. Edricks is a son too, but he wasn't a student. He was. Well, there we go. I think we got a spoon. I think it's time for some sandpaper. I'll set some of this stuff aside. Can you see that? Can you see that? It's starting to get nice and smooth there. Starting to look like a spoon. I hope it looks like the one that was in the picture that Mr. Masutani sent. I couldn't tell what kind of wood that was. Of course, I would imagine the woods in that part of the world are quite different than they are in this part of the world. Maybe not, but I think this sycamore's similar. I think the ash was pretty close to what that spoon was. But I saw this piece of sycamore, and I know sycamore is native to New England. And so if I'm going to send something to Hong Kong, by golly, I want it to be representative of New England too. Besides my blood, sweat, and tears, very little blood this time, but a lot of sweat and tears going to this one. Go over everything again. I see a little dimple there that I don't like. See there, you thought that bowl was done, but no, there's a dimple in it. Got a fairly even thickness on it too. Pretty happy with that. Got a dimple right there. It's the sanding part that takes the longest time because that's where you see all your flaws, and that's where you can work on symmetry and make sure your symmetry's right. Ugh. I hope you can hear all right. I hope the volume's all right on this. I'm sitting out in my garage. Got my garage door open. Cars going by on the street. And Carl's been in and out. Who knows how this all ended up. Ooh, I got a nasty little scar right there. Knife mark that did not want to come out. Oh, there it goes. This is the 180. I'm going to press up through, I think I brought down here 600 grit. After the 600 grit, I'm going to take my water bottle and I'll wet the spoon, and that'll raise up all the whiskers on the spoon. It makes the grain of the wood that's torn by the sandpaper to raise up a bit. let it dry. Maybe that's what we'll do with the battery bed. That'll let it dry, and then we'll sand it off of there so it makes it smoother and smoother before we put oil on. I also like to burn my initials right here on the back of the spoon, and I've made my initials very abstracted. It almost looks like a chop. The letters EMH. So the old spoon's getting smoother and smoother here. This is 180. I'm going to go 180, 220, 320, 400, 600. Then I'll whisker it. Then I'll start with a 400 again, 600. Then I'll do 1,000 and 2,000. And then I'll put the oil on it. So, a little nick right there that I missed. Sand that right out of there. Done. Gradually get it smoother and smoother. Okay, so that's that. Here's the 220. This is some strange paper that I get. It's on a plastic backing. Cuts really good, stays sharp. By golly, it's hard to hold. It's probably designed to put on some piece of, some sort of a power sander of some sort. I don't like to do power sanding. Like I said before, I like to do all of this myself. Put my energy into it rather than the electric energy of some power sander. If you're not a woodworker at all, you may not know what the numbers mean. 100 grit means that there are roughly 100 grains of sand per inch. So as we move up in the scale, we went to 180 grains of sand per inch. Now I'm 220 grains of sand per inch, and now I'm at 320 grains of sand per inch. We will get up to 600 grains of sand per inch, and it will make it nice and smooth before we start to whisker it. Okay, do this handle. I'm doing this rapidly because I don't want that battery to run out before I'm done sanding. That way I can take a break at a logical point in time. Okay, so go up here, get the knob up here, get it all nice and 400 grit. Again, another type of paper. Smoother still. This is beginning to look less like sandpaper, more like polish. It's beginning to put a little bit of a sheen onto the wood now. This sycamore is very, very pretty wood. I don't even know what it's used for. Other than I seen it growing alongside the woods. When I was a kid, I made a flute out of a piece of sycamore once. Out of a branch, a sycamore branch. It didn't work very well, but I had fun doing it. I think mostly as a kid I used sycamore for firewood. I grew up in Illinois. We got a lot of sycamore down along the rivers and stuff. It likes to be in wet spots. Okay. Okay, move on. 600. Oh, my piece of sandpaper got a little wet on the backside. Some more. Oh, my glass of tea was over there. Okay. It's a hot and humid day here. It's about probably 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which translates into something I don't know in Celsius. Okay, or centigrade, or whatever the measure is. C. That's probably, what, 35 C, something like that. Okay, so there we are at 600 grit. Okay. Now, remember, check it with your fingers. That feels good. Actually feels very, very good. Okay, so now, I've got a spray bottle here. This is just water. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my sandpaper. And I think I'll even move my tools out of the way and spray this with a little bit of water. What this water will do You can see what color it's going to be in its final stages here. What this water will do is it'll, you can see it's all nice and wet now. I don't know if you can see the shine on it or not. It's wet. We'll lay it right here. Let's lay it on something nice and clean. Lay it on a paper towel, like that. And we'll let it dry for half an hour or so. And in the meantime, we'll recharge the camera. I have recharged my camera. The spoon is dry. Get the paper towel out of here. Some of this stuff out of here. And yes, it feels rough. It has gotten once it dries, the grain has raised up. So now we need to smooth it off. I'll get my sandpaper again. Excuse me for getting out of camera view. Get some 600. There's 320. There's my 400. Don't need that one. Let's see. I think I got some. What do we got here? There's some 2,000 grit. There's some 1,000 grit. Okay. So we will polish this up before we take it down cellar, and I use the wood burner and put the name on it down in the cellar. But I hope you can see that. It's all nice and dull now. Okay. It's I'm fairly pleased with the shape of it. A little odd shaped right there, but it'll still work as a spoon. All right, so let's go start with, say, 400 grit. You can see there it says on the back, 400 grit. We'll start with that, and it feels rough to touch right now. It feels like a cat's tongue, you know, a little rough. But this will take it back to smooth and cut all those little whiskers off. Now my phone's giving me problems. Probably should have charged my phone when I was down there too. I monitor what the camera's doing on my phone, so now my phone's going to die on me. So doesn't mean that. That feels pretty good. I got those whiskers off there. That's pretty nice. We'll get through this pretty quickly here. It doesn't take a lot of sanding at this point. You're just cutting those whiskers off. This has been a fun process. I just kind of reviewed some of the video while the camera was charging up again. I downloaded all the video off of it, and by golly, I can just babble and babble and babble. Sometimes I don't make a lot of sense, but I hope you, if not find it enjoyable, find it. You can see the process. Instructional. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so the 400 grit's about done. Get some 600 grit. Pardon me. Rub that down a bit smoother with the 600 grit. Get it smooth everywhere. It feels smoother. I'll tell you, the 600 grit makes it nice and smooth. Safe when you use your spoon, so I use nothing but food safe finishes on it. I have a product that I fell in love with called Odie's Oil. It's a company down in Florida or somewhere down south. Had a couple conversations with them. Still don't know what's in their oil, but it's 100% food safe. I put it on my fingers. And that's pretty much going to be our next step after this. After the 1,000 grit and the 2,000 grit. So let's, here's the thing. Oh, my band-aid's coming off my finger. I was sharpening last night and I wore a hole in my finger sharpening. So, got a couple pieces there. Don't need a whole piece, just need a corner. Set that aside. This is, I get this at the automotive store. I like when I'm doing a nice piece of finish on the wood, I like to get it as smooth as I possibly can before I put the finish on. That is just polishing up nice. And hopefully it'll never whisker up again. If it does, if it starts to feel a little bit rough after you use it a few times, just take like a Scotch-Brite pad or a little, even a coarse piece of cloth, and just polish it out with it, and it'll come right back. And if the polish and the finish all disappear, just put some mineral oil on it. Mineral oil is a nice food-safe finish that you can put on spoons. Boy, that feels like almost an automotive finish on there already without anything on it at all. That is very, very nice. Okay, get the inside of that bowl nice. Open here. And 2,000 grit. Okay, I'll say always make a mess. I think what I'll do is, watch, if I hide my mess, if I take my mess, sit my mess over here, out of camera range, then you'll probably think better of me. And I'll say, oh, he's not nearly as messy as I thought he was. Okay. Some of this stuff. This is what I'm going to finish it with. This is Odie's oil. This is Odie's dark butter. I like this one. This one adds a little bit of color to it as well. It's been sitting out here. It's a hot summer day. The best thing to stir it with is your finger. Okay, you can go in there and stir it all up. Gunky. Okay. It is completely food safe and everything else. Now I've got a messy finger right now, which is probably the exact right amount to do this spoon. So we just wipe all this onto the spoon. Like this. And this will finish the spoon. You can see how it's bringing the grain out in that spoon. Down here. Like this. I love this stuff. I found this product, probably about a year ago now. It's been about a year that I've been making spoons. And there's a lady up in the woodworking store that, I forget exactly where it was. It was up in Maine. And found a woodcraft store up there that sells wood products. And the lady that was up there, I was asking her about food safe stuff. So I think I'd made a few spoons at that point. I'd asked her about food safe finishes. She says, you ought to try Odie's oil. So I got some Odie's oil. And boy, I'll tell you, it is just the nicest stuff. So there we have it. Have a finish on there. Now that'll dry up, and I will put a polish on it. Like I say, I'll put my initials there on the back, and somehow we'll get this to you in Hong Kong. That is a finished spoon. Put my oil back over there. Get the paper towel. Set the paper towel there. Now, I am covered in Odie's oil. Okay, but what the Odie's oil is good for, it's good for your hands. It's and I'll put it on here. The more you rub it, the more it soaks into the wood. So I'm gonna rub this for a minute or two here. Let this soak right in there nice. And this sycamore is very pretty. Got some nice grain showing there. I like the pattern along the side here. Should be nice and strong. And we'll take this and turn it into a gift. There you have it. Okay. Wipe my hands clean. Well, Mr. Masutani, I hope you get your spoon and it lives up to any expectations you may have. If Koji's mentioned it to you, if not, maybe it'd be a nice surprise. And I'll get this video edited up. We'll post it up on YouTube and you can watch it. Oh, I'm sure you'll be impressed then, you know. But it's just carving a spoon. All right.